Okay, here we are. We're going to check out our bass next. So I've got 4 channels of bass right down here. So what are they? Let's walk through them. I don't usually solo them much, but let's just... Whoopsie, what am I doing? Go to the top of my track here. What are we doing? There we go. So we've got the just the raw DI. Sounds like that. Sounds like a DI. We've got Sans amp distorted track. We've got an actual amp distorted track, but that sounds pretty darn similar. But they're kind of 2 different flavors of distortion, so they kind of work together. And we have another amp that's got a lot of bottom end and body and not really a lot of that high end crunch. So let's just see how each of these works with the drums. Push up the one that's got some bottom end in it. That's working pretty good. I'm listening for the relationship between the kick and the bass. I want the bass to be this kind of very solid low-end information, and I want the kick just kind of poke through right underneath that. But what I do think about the bass is I think that it is too dynamic. So I've got some compressors set up on these channels. What are they? They are the Purple Audio MC. It's an 1176, kind of a medium attack, fairly fast release, just 4-to-1. I have the same setting on each of these channels, so we could just go ahead and turn this on right now. Oh, and that immediately gives us way more bottom end for sure. It makes it nice and level. Compare that if I turn it off again. Yeah, that's making the bass way fatter and way more bottom end. So that's great because we want that. But I think right now it's a little too dull. So I'm not going to add any top end on this bass channel because there isn't really any to speak of. But as a group, just together, I'm going to apply to each of these 3 channels the same EQ. I like for bass to go around 1.5K. You get that really kind of nosy honk. Obviously that's too much. But maybe let's try something around. Let's try something like that. That gives it some growl, some kind of I really like that, but I think it could be a little more sparkly. So let's maybe go around 5K. And just get a little bit more of that pick distortion on top. I like that. So now I feel like we have a really well-balanced bass sound. It's got a lot of low end. It's got some nice aggression. It's fat and level. You'll notice one thing I didn't do was add bottom end in the EQ. I don't like doing that because I feel like I don't want the bottom end to be centered around one frequency or to start at one frequency if I were to use a shelf. So I try and that's why I have 4 channels here. I actually created these 3. I was just sent on this recording just the straight DI. So I kind of use a combination of, and these are all emulations, but it was, like a Sans amp and a couple different amps to give me a full bass sound that, especially once I compress it, I get enough low end out of the combination of all of those. What I like about using amp simulations on bass is that you don't run into phase problems between the DI and the amp like you would if you were actually miking an amp, because you have that small time difference that it takes for the sound to reach the speaker and the microphone. You don't really get that when you're using amp simulations in the digital world. So what it does is it builds up and gives us, this wonderful cohesive bottom end that doesn't move as the notes move. It kind of just stays nice and consistent. So we'll just kind of balance that with our drums. Now, do I want to put any effects on bass? A lot of people don't, but you know what's one effect that I do really like on bass is just a slight chorus. And I'm going to put that on all these 3 tracks that have some top end in them. And then we'll go down to my return here. Now you'll notice I've got most of the low end wiped off on this chorus here. It's at, everything below 250 hertz is gone. Because I definitely don't want to be affecting that or spreading that. We want to keep that nice and mono. But above that, we can add just some width to the top end of our bass. And what I find that does is it kind of gels it with the rest of the track, especially once we bring in the guitars. It kind of supports the stereo width of the guitars. And it just kind of, to me, fits the bass into that a little bit better. So that's all I really do with bass is compression and getting some kind of mid-range and top EQ to make it nice and nasty. And that's all I'll really do, and then add a bit of chorusing. I won't always do that, but I feel like for this it's going to work, so we'll keep it. And then we'll go ahead and start looking at our guitars.